Hey guys, tonight we settle ourselves not on an ancient battlefield, but in the deepest, quietest cave on the side of a mountain, a place where the air hangs still and cool, tasting faintly of damp stone and forgotten moss. You can almost feel the chill pressing against your skin, even through the warmest blanket you have wrapped around you right now. Imagine the kind of quiet that absorbs sound, the kind of quiet that makes your own heartbeat seem a little too loud, like a soft, steady drum. Tonight, we are easing into the story of the long, gentle nap of Endymion and the quiet obsession of Selene. You are probably used to thinking of famous naps as those quick 15-minute power downs on a lunch break, or maybe the occasional snooze that turns into a 3-hour accidental time warp on a rainy Sunday afternoon. But what if a nap lasted forever? What if eternal rest was the prize, and the cost was a silent, unending adoration from the most beautiful light in the sky? It's a concept that sounds very dramatic, but in reality, it's one of the most soothing, most beautifully monotonous myths you will ever encounter. It's a story perfect for letting your mind unwind, allowing the details to blur, and inviting your own eyelids to grow heavy, before you get too comfortable and possibly fall asleep halfway through. Tap like and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy this odd mix of boredom and history. It keeps the channel alive and the stories just sleepy enough to help you drift off again next time. Let me know in the comments where you are listening from and what time it is right now. It is always nice to know who else is sharing this quiet historical moment with us, even if you are an hour or two ahead or behind, tucked into a different time zone. Now, dim the lights. Let the world outside grow quiet, and turn on a fan if you like that soft, steady hum in the background. Let your shoulders loosen and your breathing slow. This is your time to drift. No rush, no deadlines, no noise. Just you, a little warmth in the air, and the faint whisper of history waiting to unfold. So, settle in, and let's ease gently into tonight's journey together. Our story begins far away, on the western coast of Anatolia, in a place called Caria, near a mountain that rises with a gentle, imposing presence. This is Mount Latmus, where the olive trees grow silver, green on the lower slopes, and the air smells of wild herbs and salty distant sea spray. The year, if you can even talk about linear time when discussing deep myth, is entirely irrelevant because the rhythms of this place are older than calendars. Here, among the high, quiet crags, lives a young man named Endymion. He is a shepherd, or perhaps a king, depending on which dusty scroll you decide to believe. Historians still argue whether the original myths described him as a simple herder or a ruler who simply enjoyed the solitude of the hills more than the fuss of a throne. For our purpose tonight, it is better to imagine him as something comfortably in between. A man of great peace who values the quiet life, the steady, rhythmic tramp of his small flock, and the vast, open canopy of the night sky above him. He doesn't seek greatness, he only seeks stillness. You can almost feel the rough, sturdy wool of his tunic against your skin, the cool air settling around your ankles as you sit with him, watching the stars begin to bloom like tiny ice flowers in the darkening blue. This is the life he knows. The bleating of the sheep, the slow arc of the sun, the simple, satisfying tiredness that comes after a long day of walking the uneven ground. It's a very grounding feeling, isn't it? The kind of simple labor that means your body asks for sleep, not your mind. He moves through his days with an easy, silent grace, his gaze often lifted upwards. He is fascinated by the cosmos, not in a complicated telescope and formulas way, but in a quiet, inherent appreciation for the sheer, silent distance of everything above him. This fascination is, perhaps, his quiet undoing, though undoing is far too harsh a word for such a gentle transformation. One day, Endymion finds himself seeking a deeper shelter. Perhaps a storm rolls in suddenly, a summer deluge that turns the trails into rushing streams. Or maybe it is just the intense, midday sun beating down, making the stones too hot to sit upon comfortably. Whatever the reason, he finds a particular cave, high up on the mountain's flank. This is not just any cave. It is deep and cool, its mouth nearly hidden by hanging vines and the dense shade of ancient ilex trees. The floor inside is smooth, almost polished by millennia of dripping water and slow, shifting air currents. It is the perfect retreat, a silent room carved from the mountain's heart, a place where the air itself feels thicker and more calming. He spreads a soft layer of dried grasses and a thick hide he carries, a humble temporary bed. He lies down, intending only to rest his eyes for a short while, to let the cool darkness soothe the heat from his bones. The sound of the wind outside becomes a distant, murmuring lullaby, a soft shushing sound that only pulls him deeper into the earth's embrace. He closes his eyes, and the ordinary sleep of a tired man begins to descend. But this sleep is different. It is exquisitely, impossibly deep. This deep rest is a quiet, powerful blessing from the gods, or perhaps from the natural, silent forces that govern the world. When Endymion finally falls into this deep, velvety dark, he does not dream, nor does he stir. His breathing becomes slow, almost imperceptible. His face remains smooth, unmarred by the passing of years or the anxieties of wakefulness. He is frozen, not in death, but in the perfect, eternal moment of youthful peace. This is the mainstream historical fact of the story, that the gods, often Zeus, or sometimes Hypnos, the god of sleep, granted Endymion a wish: the ability to sleep forever, remain eternally youthful, and suffer no decay or ill health. It is the ultimate cosmic lie in. Imagine never having an alarm clock again, never feeling a twinge in your knees, never experiencing the simple annoyance of a mild headache. That is his eternal state. Meanwhile, high above, the world continues its rotation, oblivious to the perfect stillness achieved in the cave of Mount Latmus. The day fades. The deep purple bruise of twilight spreads across the sky, and then comes the gradual, glorious appearance of the moon. Tonight, we must introduce the other half of our silent pair, Selene. She is the very essence of the moon, the beautiful, radiant body that travels the night sky in a silver chariot pulled by two magnificent white steeds. Her light is not the harsh, yellow glare of the sun, but a soft, milky luminosity, a gentle, cool glow that washes over the sleeping world. Her journey is endless, a steady, predictable curve across the dark expanse, casting silver on the ocean and turning the peaks of mountains into quiet beacons. The life of a moon goddess, you might think, is quite solitary. Imagine having the most predictable, most repetitive job in the cosmos. Every single night, the same route, the same slow climb, the same gentle descent. Her whole existence is a cycle, a relentless, beautiful recurrence. This nightly journey, though silent and beautiful, is also somewhat isolating. She sees everything, but rarely stops for anything. She is detached, watching the small, busy, fleeting lives of mortals play out in the silvery light she provides. She is the watcher, the quiet observer, and every single night, her arc carries her over the coast of Caria, over the vast, dark body of the Aegean Sea, and right past the high, quiet bulk of Mount Latmus. She has done this for millennia. The mountain is just a landmark, a dark shape she circles, a familiar shadow against the star-dusted velvet of the sky. But tonight, the alignment is slightly different. Perhaps the earth has shifted by a fraction of a degree, or maybe her own gaze is drawn down by some subtle, magnetic pull. As she guides her silent, glowing chariot, her eye falls upon a particular, shadowy hollow on the mountain's slope. She can see just enough into the mouth of the cave, where the light is usually just swallowed by the darkness. Tonight, however, the angle is perfect. A slender, focused beam of her own light reaches deep inside, illuminating a figure stretched out in a posture of profound, perfect rest. It is Endymion, caught in the endless instant of his sleep. The sight stops her, not physically. Her cosmic duty compels her onward, but mentally, emotionally. The endless rhythm of her existence hits a sudden, silent pause. What she sees is not just a sleeping man. She sees an embodiment of peace, a beautiful, still form untouched by the normal wear and tear of human life. He is perpetually young, perpetually relaxed, utterly innocent of the worries that normally crease a mortal brow. Imagine the quirky or fringe tidbit that exists alongside this central myth. Some ancient Cretan stories suggest that Endymion was not just a shepherd, but an astronomer who was so devoted to watching the heavens that he eventually just lay down and waited for the moon to come close enough to him. It's a sweet, slightly sad notion that he wished himself into stillness just for the chance of a closer look. But in our version, his repose is accidental, a gift he didn't ask for, yet one that makes him eternally attractive to the celestial eye. Selene is struck by this profound stillness. It is the antithesis of her own tireless, cyclical movement. She is forever in motion, forever changing her shape from crescent to full and back again, forever moving across the black ceiling of the world. He, however, is perfectly stationary, perfectly whole. He is a moment of pure, uninterrupted rest, a sanctuary of silence in a universe of endless, grinding time. She continues her arc, of course, because a moon cannot simply stop orbiting. The world below depends on her silent, regular journey. But the image of the sleeping shepherd, so still and peaceful, is now burned into her luminous mind. The soft, gentle light of her gaze lingers on the cave long after her physical presence has moved far past. As the pre-dawn light begins to smear the eastern horizon, Selene completes her journey and sinks below the world, surrendering her rule to the sun. But even as she rests in her celestial chambers, perhaps thinking of the next night's run, the quiet image of the sleeping shepherd remains. She is Selene, the distant, powerful, luminous moon, but in this moment, she is simply a solitary figure who has finally found something beautiful to look at, something that does not rush, does not fade, and does not demand anything of her. She has found her quiet obsession, and you, too, are now beginning to feel that same pull toward rest. The images are soft, the scent of herbs, the cool dampness of stone, the slow, silent motion of a silver chariot high above. The world is tucked in, quiet beneath its blanket of darkness. You are simply watching the shadow of a mountain and waiting for the moon to rise again. Your breath is evening out. Your eyelids are growing a little heavier now. The peace that envelops Endymion is beginning to settle around you too. It is a stillness you deserve, a pause in the endless cycle of your own busy days. Just let the thought of that deep, perfect, untouched sleep carry you gently forward. The first quiet moment of observation is complete. The stage is set with the eternally sleeping shepherd in his cool, high cave, and the infinitely moving, suddenly captivated moon above. The world sleeps, the night is long, and the watch has begun. This silent encounter changes everything, not with a crash or a grand declaration, but with a slow, gentle shift in the cosmic perspective. It is the kind of change that happens when you finally let your head sink into the pillow and sigh, releasing all the tension of the day. It is quiet, it is slow, it is perfect. You are beginning to drift. The world turns, as it always must, and the harsh, bright glare of the sun, wielded by Helios, takes its familiar hold on the sky. For Selene, this is a period of quiet withdrawal, a time of retreat from the cosmic stage. Yet, even in this rest, the persistent, luminous image of the sleeping shepherd lingers in the cool chambers of her mind. She is accustomed to the grand movements of gods and mortals, the fleeting passions, the dramatic conflicts, the quick, sharp rhythm of lives lived in hurried daylight. But Endymion represents something entirely different, a profound, luxurious inertia. Imagine, for a moment, the sheer contrast. You run a marathon every single night, endlessly, flawlessly, painting the world silver. And then, you see someone who has simply opted out of the race, stretched out in perfect, youthful repose. It's deeply captivating, isn't it? It's like finding a perfectly smooth, unweathered stone on a beach of endless tumbling pebbles. He is untouched by the frantic energy that defines almost everything else she sees. The next night, her journey begins again. The magnificent white steeds pulling her silent chariot into the vast, darkening sky. As she crests the horizon, and the familiar constellations begin to wheel into their patterns, her sight lines are already trained toward the dark silhouette of Mount Latmus. She approaches it with a subtle, internal anticipation, a slowing of the spirit, even though the chariot's pace remains perfectly constant. She is looking for the cave again, that small, shadowed indentation high on the slope. Her light, which is always gentle, seems to soften even further as it falls upon the mountain. She guides it, a deliberate, focused beam of pure, milky glow, until it penetrates the mouth of the cave. And there he is, still, unchanged. His chest rises and falls with a rhythm so slow, so faint, that it is barely perceptible, like the deepest, most restful breathing you have ever felt in your own body, the kind that only happens when you are profoundly, utterly safe. She watches him, tracing the contours of his face and the relaxed curve of his long form. His sleep is so deep that the light does not disturb him in the slightest. It simply bathes him in a cool, silvery radiance. This is the quirky or fringed tidbit we encounter now. Some local Anatolian myths describe the air inside Endymion's cave as being unnaturally still and cool, suggesting that the mountain itself was enchanted to hold the perfect temperature necessary to preserve his eternal nap, a kind of cosmic deep freeze without the ice. This viewing becomes her new nightly ritual. Her cosmic duty carries her along her path, a massive, silent curve across the night. But now, as she passes Mount Latmus, her attention narrows. The entire world, the whole sleeping panorama, shrinks down to that single, still point of light and shadow. She is Selene, goddess of the moon, yet for a few precious hours each night, she is merely a silent spectator, watching the quiet miracle of an unending nap. Think about the sheer loneliness of eternal life and duty. You witness countless generations of mortals rising, striving, building, and eventually crumbling to dust. The scale of her experience is so vast that individual lives are usually just blips, fleeting sparks in the great darkness. But Endymion's stillness defies that brevity. By choosing or being granted eternal youth through eternal sleep, he has made himself a fixed point in her ever-revolving universe. He will not age, he will not suffer, and he will never turn away. He is an eternally preserved image of human potential, locked in the perfect moment of its prime. She begins to slow her chariot, just slightly, intuitively, as she nears the mountain. It's not a physical braking. The moon does not obey such simple mechanics. It is a spiritual deceleration, a deliberate lingering of her luminous gaze. She allows her light to fall upon him for longer now, bathing the entrance of the cave in a soft, prolonged glow. You can imagine the air itself becoming dense with silver light, hushed and reverent. This quiet obsession is built entirely on observation, on gazing. Selene cannot truly approach him yet. Her power is too vast, her presence too overwhelming. To step down from her chariot and walk into that cave would risk shattering the perfect, fragile stillness that captivates her. It would be like trying to hold a dust mote with a sledgehammer. The very act of interaction might wake him, and waking him would mean the immediate introduction of age, decay, and the inevitable rush of time, destroying the perfect portrait of peace she has discovered. So, she must remain distant, a silent, loving stalker from the sky. Her form, beautiful and glowing, remains aloft. Her silent vigil continues, night after night, cycle after cycle. The moon phases wax and wane. She appears as a thin sickle, then grows to a full, brilliant orb, and then shrinks back again. But the sleeping shepherd remains the constant, the fixed center of her nocturnal attention. The only thing that changes is the intensity of her focus, which only grows deeper. It is during this period of growing fixation that the divine bureaucracy, if you can imagine such a thing, must have taken notice. The gods rarely interfere directly without good reason, but a goddess of the celestial spheres developing an intense, silent crush on a mortal, albeit a perpetually sleeping one, is notable. It reinforces the mainstream historical fact that Selene's passion for Endymion is unique, because it is one-sided and entirely non-physical, sustained only by light and proximity. Most divine, mortal couplings are defined by pursuit and conquest, but hers is defined by restraint and reverence for his rest. Imagine the gentle sarcasm here. The other Olympians must have been entirely bewildered. No drama, no shouting, no dramatic lightning bolts or furious, jealous spouses, just a quiet, devoted gaze. It must have been the most boring obsession in the entire pantheon, which, of course, makes it perfect for a bedtime story. She isn't causing chaos. She's simply dedicating herself to quiet observance. As the cycles of the moon continue, Selene begins to learn the landscape around the cave. She observes the subtle shift of the shadows, the movement of the few wild goats that occasionally graze near the entrance, the slow, silent growth of the ivy that begins to weave its way across the rocks. She becomes intimately familiar with the stillness of this specific patch of earth, learning its quiet secrets through the medium of light. Historians still argue whether Selene's silent devotion began as simple aesthetic appreciation for his beauty, or if the goddess genuinely sought the contrast of his stillness to counteract the frantic pace of her own eternal rotation. Was it the shepherd himself, or the perfect, profound peace he represented, that drew her in? It is a subtle but important distinction, and one you don't need to worry about right now. All that matters is the soft, silver light that pools silently around the entrance to the cave. The light she casts is a soft blanket, a subtle presence. When you are fully awake, moonlight is just a distant, cool illumination. But when you are drifting toward sleep, you can feel its weight, its quiet chill, its pervasive stillness. Selene is pouring that energy, that quiet intention, onto Mount Latmus every night. She is guarding his rest, protecting his quiet. She has become the silent, luminous sentinel of his endless nap. You can close your eyes now and visualize that perfect scene, the high mountain, the deep, dark cave, and the single, unwavering beam of silver light streaming in, illuminating the sleeping form. Feel the distance, the immense, quiet space between the celestial watcher and the earthly sleeper. It's a distance that must be maintained, a boundary that cannot be crossed for the integrity of his peace. Selene understands this perfectly. She knows her touch, her presence would be an intrusion, a thunderclap in his silent world. So, she passes, she looks, and she yearns silently. Her love is a quiet accumulation of endless nights, a vast, patient weight of attention. She is falling in love, not with the busy, complex reality of a mortal man, but with the perfect, frozen tranquility of a dream. He will never disappoint her, never change his mind, never leave his post. He is eternally fixed, eternally beautiful, eternally in that deep, comforting place that you are trying to reach right now. The sheer dedication to this silent act of observation is exhausting in a profound, emotional way. But it is also deeply satisfying. It gives her nightly journey a meaning beyond mere cosmic function. She is traveling now, not just to light the world, but to check on him, to ensure his rest is undisturbed, to bathe him in the softest light she can muster. Her cycle has a new, hidden purpose, a secret, sweet objective that only she and the stars truly share. You are moving with her now, high above the earth, feeling the soft, rhythmic clop of the unseen horses drawing the silent silver chariot. The air is cool, clear, and perfectly still. Look down and watch the pale light spill over the sleeping forests and the calm, dark surface of the sea. And then your gaze, like Selene's, is drawn down to that one, single, fixed point of rest on Mount Latmus. You are seeing the peace he has found, the perfect stillness that has captured the heart of the moon. Let that stillness capture your attention, too. Let the focus on his deep, quiet breathing become the rhythm for your own. You are breathing in and breathing out, slow and deep, just like the mountain itself. The cycle continues, the gaze deepens, and the slow, inexorable pull downward begins. The descent is coming, but for now, we simply watch, bathed in the soft, silver light of an endless night. The nightly watching has evolved from a sudden curiosity into a steadfast, consuming devotion. Selene has now spent countless lunar cycles observing the eternally sleeping Endymion. Her routine is no longer just the mechanical rotation of her sphere. It is a pilgrimage. Every night, as she approaches the western coasts of Asia Minor, her movement takes on a perceptible softness, an air of quiet reverence. She is preparing for the sacred stretch of her journey, where the small, shadowed mouth of the cave on Mount Latmus appears below her. You are floating with her now, feeling the immense scale of the night sky, yet also sensing the incredibly focused intimacy of her gaze. The whole world is a blur of darkness and occasional, scattered human lights, like tiny, flickering embers. But her vision is locked onto that one, quiet cave. She knows the exact moment the light needs to be modulated, softened, and directed perfectly to illuminate his face, without ever disturbing the profound depth of his rest. Her light becomes a soft curtain, a delicate blanket of silver. This nightly passage is where the mythology really takes a gentle, turning dive. The cosmic distance that separates them is a cruel barrier, a vast, cold expanse of vacuum that prevents any simple, mortal interaction. But Selene is a goddess. She possesses the ability to bend the rules of light and distance, not to force an entrance, but to execute a soft, slow, and almost entirely secret descent. Imagine the feeling of leaving the high, cold, bright speed of the celestial highway and beginning a slow, deliberate drop toward the warm, damp earth. It is a monumental shift in focus. The chariot, which usually races silently across the zenith, begins to arc lower, sinking closer to the mountain peaks. The majestic white steeds move with a hushed, careful tread, their hooves seemingly absorbed by the thin, cool air of the upper atmosphere. They make no sound. Their motion is a pure, silent glide. The purpose of this soft descent is simple proximity. Selene yearns to be closer to the source of the profound peace that has captured her attention. She does not wish to wake him. Never that. She simply wants to bridge the gap between the infinite and the fixed, the moving and the perfectly still. She wants to breathe the same air, feel the same cool mountain stillness that cradles his eternal rest. As the chariot draws nearer, sinking below the highest peaks, the shadows on the ground become sharper, deeper, and more clearly defined. The moonlight no longer just washes over the landscape, it sculpts it. You can see the individual shapes of the olive leaves trembling slightly in the cool night air, and the smooth, gray texture of the rocks forming the cave entrance. The air here is no longer the thin, cold expanse of space, but the rich, herbal scent of mountain night, myrtle, wild thyme, and the heavy, mineral scent of damp stone. Selene performs this maneuver with exquisite care, sometimes dipping so low that the silver tip of her chariot's axle just skims the tops of the highest pines. She is risking detection, risking the loss of her stately distance. But the quiet pull of the sleeping shepherd is simply too strong to resist. This silent, secret, temporary descent is the quirky or fringe tidbit for this section. Some accounts suggest she had to weave a complex celestial illusion to hide her lower trajectory from Helios, her brother the sun, who would certainly mock her for her devotion to a perpetually sleeping mortal. The thought of having to answer to her sibling for her quiet crushes, frankly, the most human aspect of her divinity. She reaches the point of closest approach, hovering just above the deepest gorge that runs alongside Mount Latmus, directly opposite the cave entrance. From this vantage point, she can see Endymion clearly, his figure bathed in the precise, silvery concentration of her focused light. She holds this position for the longest stretch of her journey, a motionless anchor of light in the vast, cycling night. This is the very nature of her growing obsession. It is a fixation rooted in unwavering stillness. Selene, who embodies change and relentless movement. The waxing and waning, the daily rising and setting, is utterly drawn to the one thing in her universe that remains perfectly, blissfully the same. It is a cosmic contradiction. She is in love with the unmoving. Imagine her silent frustration. She is close enough now to see the individual strands of his hair, the faint, gentle flutter of his eyelashes, the soft, unchanging curve of his lips. She could, if she dared, step out and walk the short distance into the cave. But the thought is instantly dismissed. It's the constant, recurring internal debate to touch and break the spell, or to watch and maintain the perfect image. She always chooses the latter. She is the quiet guardian of his dream state. The core of their relationship is entirely contained within the act of gazing. Endymion, in his deep, privileged sleep, knows nothing of the beautiful, powerful goddess hovering silently above him. He receives the benefit of her light and her profound, protective attention, but he offers nothing in return. No movement, no recognition, no shared glance. This is pure, unrequited love in its most gentle and silent form. This continuous act of silent worship leads us to consider the mainstream historical fact regarding the offspring attributed to them. Certain traditions mention that Selene bore 50 daughters from her union with Endymion. This is where the story truly becomes mythological poetry. How can a goddess bear children from a man who is perpetually asleep? The answer is that their union is not physical in the traditional sense, but spiritual and ethereal, a congress of light and pure stillness. The 50 daughters are often interpreted as the 50 lunar months in the 4-year Olympic cycle, a poetic way of saying that his stillness gave birth to her time, to her measure of passage. His unchanging state allows her to continue the rhythm of the world. As she hovers, Selene pours her focus into the scene. She notes the subtle shifts in the air, the way the night dew gathers on the rocks outside the cave, the soft rustle of an unseen night bird settling in a nearby branch. She absorbs every detail, making this one small corner of Mount Latmus the most observed, most protected, and most gently illuminated spot on Earth. Historians still argue whether Selene's nightly visits influenced the perception of moonlight itself. Did it become softer, more benevolent, less harsh, because her heart was softened by her love for the sleeping shepherd? Or did moonlight always possess this quality, and her love simply found its perfect reflection in the restful scene? Again, the subtle debate is quiet and unimportant. What matters is the effect. When you look up at the moon tonight, you are seeing the light of a devoted, silently yearning gaze. You feel the air growing cooler around you, the weight of the blanket settling more deeply, and the profound, comforting realization that you are utterly alone and safe, much like Endymion in his perfect solitude. His sleep is a great, deep anchor, and Selene's presence is the soft, silver chain that links him to the distant, watchful sky. She is not a demanding lover, but a quiet caregiver, tending to the sacred flame of his rest. Now that she has mastered the descent, this new level of proximity allows her silent obsession to become even more detailed. She can see, in the deep silence, that his posture never shifts. His breath remains even and slow. A barely audible whisper against the sound of the world's rotation. There is no tension in his hands, no crease of worry in his brow. He is simply rest, the image of the beautiful, powerful moon, goddess, slowing her cosmic flight. Just to gaze at a quiet shepherd is immensely humbling. It shows that even the most grand, repetitive duties can be transformed by a single, secret act of devotion. Her existence, which was once solely defined by the movement of time, is now defined by a commitment to stillness. She is moving in order to stand still, traveling in order to watch the unmoving. It's a lovely, gentle paradox. Let the image of the silver light growing stronger and softer around you encourage your own body to relax completely. Your feet are still, your hands are open, your muscles are releasing their grip on the day. You are absorbing the stillness from the ancient scene, the quiet comfort of the mountain, and the gentle, persistent glow of the watchful moon. The descent is complete, the view is perfect, and the vigil is long, silent, and entirely peaceful. You are being held in the soft, luminous sight of Selene, far above, and the deep, unending repose of Endymion, close below. Drift into that quiet space between the celestial and the earthly. You are safe. You are still. The quiet obsession deepens, settling into a permanent, unchanging rhythm that defines the night. Selene's nightly journey now has a clear, predictable pause, a period of sustained, low altitude hovering over Mount Latmus. She is an anchor of silver light, utterly focused on the cave where Endymion rests, perpetually suspended between wakefulness and the grave. The stillness of his condition is the very element that feeds her devotion. He is immune to time, forever preserved in his perfect, youthful moment. You are now entirely immersed in this soft, timeless space, feeling the cool air of the high mountain and the persistent, gentle pressure of the moon's focused light. Consider the nature of this sleep, this incredible, endless nap. It wasn't granted by chance. It was, as the mainstream historical fact suggests, a bargain. The ultimate escape from the fleeting, chaotic nature of mortal life. Zeus or Hypnos, responding to Endymion's own silent wish, or perhaps an impulse of divine favor, granted him the ultimate form of rest. Endymion had, in effect, traded all the messy, vibrant experiences of human existence for one single, perfect, uninterrupted state of repose. This is the immortal bargain. He is immune to the ravages of age, the sickness that weakens the body, the slow, creeping deterioration of memory and mind. He is locked in a state of youthful perfection, his breath steady and his features smooth. He will never know the ache of loss, the sharp sting of betrayal, or the mundane pressure of daily chores. Imagine the sheer luxury of that avoidance. No taxes, no awkward small talk, no need to decide what to have for dinner. Just perfect, quiet, endless sleep. But every bargain, especially a divine one, comes with a silent cost. The cost of Endymion's eternal youth is the forfeiture of his own consciousness, his agency, his very ability to know anything. He can never experience the sunrise, the satisfying warmth of fresh bread, the sound of laughter, or the simple joy of feeling the dirt between his toes. He is a perfect, exquisite statue, a breathtaking work of art, but he is completely, utterly empty of self-awareness. He is alive, but not living. This cost is part of what makes Selene's silent love so poignant. She is obsessed with a man who can never, ever return her gaze or acknowledge her presence. Her passion is built on the purest form of giving without expectation. She gives him her light, her time, and her protective watchfulness, night after silent night, knowing that his peace depends on her distance and his ignorance of her adoration. Historians still argue whether Endymion's continued stillness implies a conscious, dreamless state, or if he is simply a biological machine, perfectly preserved but utterly empty inside. Does he experience his sleep as a long, continuous, velvety blackness, or is it a truly empty void? It's a metaphysical riddle that only adds to the gentle mystery of the cave. We can only assume the most soothing version, a state of deep, perfect non-existence, free from even the effort of dreaming. Selene's descent, which she now executes flawlessly every night, brings her close enough to study the details of this magnificent, ongoing sacrifice. She notices the soft shadow his long hair casts against the stone, the faint sheen of moisture on his skin from the cave's persistent dampness, the utterly relaxed posture of his body, draped loosely across the hide. She feels a profound, powerful need to guard this peace, to ensure that the delicate balance of his immortality is never disturbed. This protective instinct manifests in a beautiful, almost imperceptible manipulation of her light. When the night is cloudy, she filters her illumination through the moisture-laden air, creating a soft, diffuse glow that blankets the whole mountain, rather than a harsh, direct beam. When the night is brilliantly clear, she focuses her light into a precise, silver column, pouring her essence directly into the cave mouth. But she reduces the intensity, making it luminous, but never jarring. She is a master of soft light, a true, cosmic lighting designer, ensuring the ambience is always one of perfect, uninterrupted rest. It is a curious thing, this love. It is sustained by what is absent. It is the antithesis of the daytime world, which is sustained by noise, activity, and constant, frantic engagement. Selene finds her greatest fulfillment in this silent, unreciprocated watching. It is her quiet secret, her nightly escape from the demands of her own vast celestial stage. Imagine the gentle irony. A goddess whose entire purpose is to move and cycle finds her solace in the absolute immobility of one sleepy shepherd. It is almost a form of cosmic rebellion, a quiet, powerful preference for the deep, silent comfort of nothing happening at all. You could call it a celestial form of doom. Scrolling, except instead of looking for disaster, she is looking for perfect, comforting nothingness. The quiet obsession also extends to the surroundings. Selene observes the slow changes of the mountain's flora. She watches the moss grow greener after the winter rains. The new clutch of fern leaves unfurl in the spring. The subtle way the light glints off a tiny stream that runs down the rocks nearby. Endymion's presence has made the entire landscape sacred to her. She is not just looking at him, she is absorbing his entire beautiful, still environment. The sheer repetitive nature of this vigil is inherently soothing. With perfect certainty that every night she will be there, and every night he will be perfectly still. This predictability is the great comfort of the myth. There are no sudden shocks, no dramatic twists, no emotional volatility. Only the slow, steady arc of the moon and the faint, slow breathing of the shepherd. It is the perfect narrative rhythm to lull the mind into quiet submission. This commitment is the ultimate expression of the quirky or fringe tidbit that accompanies some versions of the tale, suggesting that Selene wasn't just attracted to him, but that Endymion was actually an avatar of Hypnos himself, the god of sleep, and that her light was simply reinforcing the essential nature of the divine slumber. If he is the personification of deep sleep, then her love is simply the purest expression of the night sky's perfect adoration for rest. This interpretation makes her obsession not just romantic, but essential to the function of the cosmos. You can feel the soft, profound pull of his stillness now. It is radiating out from the cave, a gentle, powerful energy that asks nothing of you except that you stop, you rest, and you simply be. Let your hands unclench, your jaw relax, and your mind stop its endless, tiny loops of worry and planning. You are adopting the posture of Endymion now, complete surrender to the deep, silent dark. Selene, high above, continues her careful, luminous watch. Her light pours over you, a soft, heavy blanket of silver, a quiet reassurance that this night is protected, this moment is safe, and this stillness will not be broken. She guards the man who traded his life for a nap, and in doing so, she creates a sanctuary of peace for all who watch her silent journey. The quiet cost of his consciousness is the price paid for her eternal devotion, and for the creation of this perfect sleeping scene. As you drift with the slow movement of her celestial chariot, absorbing the quiet comfort of the mountain air and the soft, unwavering light, you are becoming a part of their silent, cosmic duet. The world outside the cave is noisy and fast, but here, on Mount Latmus, time itself has settled into a slow, gentle hum, a rhythm conducive only to the deepest, most restorative rest. The bargain is sealed, the vigil is set, and the quiet, devoted gaze continues, pouring peace over the earth. The long, slow story of Selene and Endymion now settles into the most soothing phase of all, the phase of absolute, unwavering repetition. This is the comfort of a perfect, unchanging rhythm, the ultimate expression of a predictable, quiet love. Night after night, the goddess rises, the white steeds pull her silver chariot, and the moment she reaches the perfect celestial longitude, her speed softens, her trajectory dips, and her light focuses, creating a cone of gentle silver over the high slopes of Mount Latmus. You know this routine perfectly now. It is the metronome of the night, a silent, comforting click that ensures stability. Endymion remains perfectly still in the cool, deep interior of the cave, his features untouched, his breath slow, his body forever young and relaxed. Selene remains perfectly devoted, her form hovering just above the pine line, her gaze fixed entirely on the one quiet life that refuses to move. Imagine the sheer volume of time contained in this cycle. Decades pass below them. Empires rise and fall, forests burn and regrow, and the slow geological shift of the earth continues, all beneath the indifferent, cycling gaze of the moon. Yet, for Selene, time is now measured differently. It is marked by the moments she spends near the cave, the duration of her nightly vigil, the precious stretch where her celestial duty and her quiet obsession align perfectly. Her existence is no longer just about the grand, vast sweep of eternity, but about the small, contained pocket of stillness on the side of a quiet mountain. This period of sustained watching is defined by the endless reverie, fleeting touch. Selene, in her profound, unrequited love, cannot resist the temptation to reach out. But her touch must be ethereal, a purely gentle expression of her luminous essence. She will sometimes allow a single, focused ray of her light to penetrate the cave and rest, like a soft, cool finger, upon his forehead or the curve of his cheek. It is a moment of pure, silent connection, light meeting stillness, without transferring any of the heat or energy that might break his sacred repose. This soft, silent touch is the quirky or fringe tidbit we encounter now. Some Roman poets later suggested that the night dew found on the slopes of Latmus was actually the crystallized essence of Selene's tears, shed silently because she could never truly embrace her beloved without waking him. It's a beautifully sad image, the mountain being watered by the quiet, unexpressed yearning of the moon. You can almost feel the cool dampness settling on your own skin, the soft moisture of an ancient, cosmic sorrow that is entirely silent and resigned. Her love is a marvel of self-control. She has the power to descend, to enter the cave, to make her presence known in a truly physical, undeniable way. But she is restrained by the profound respect she holds for his peace. To awaken Endymion would be to destroy the perfection that drew her in the first place. He would instantly begin to age, to wrinkle, to worry, and the pristine, eternal image she holds dear would vanish in a single, painful moment of mortal wakefulness. So, she chooses the loneliness of distance over the devastation of presence. The silent, unrequited nature of this vigil reinforces the mainstream historical fact that the ancient Greeks saw Selene as a figure of quiet, almost melancholy beauty. She is often depicted with a torch, but in this context, the torch is not to light the way, but to shine a light on the object of her adoration. Her passion for Endymion sets her apart from her more volatile Olympian counterparts. Her great love is not defined by conquest, but by quiet, patient attendance. It is the ultimate expression of non-possessive admiration. Historians still argue whether Selene's persistent, quiet gaze actually sustains Endymion's youth, or if the initial divine bargain provides the power, and her light is simply an expression of her love for the already established perfection. Is her attention necessary for his immortality, or is it just her way of paying tribute to it? Again, The debate is gentle, a soft whisper that fades into the cool air of the mountain. What matters is the deep, unwavering commitment of her presence. Imagine this silent existence from her perspective. The nights blur into one long, continuous stretch of silver light and focused observation. She sees the slow change in the stars as the millennia pass, the subtle shift in the constellations themselves, yet below her, the shepherd never moves. He is the only constant in a universe of endless, slow motion change. She is, in a way, addicted to his stillness. The rhythm of her life is now entirely dictated by him. She anticipates the moment she will see him again with a silent yearning, and she leaves him each morning with a gentle reluctance, knowing she must surrender the sky to her bright, energetic brother, Helios. Her own rest is perhaps less restorative now, punctuated by the lingering image of the profound. Perfect rest she is forced to observe, but can never truly share. You are being pulled deeper into that velvet quiet now. You feel the slow passage of time as a deep, luxurious stretch of perfect non-event. Nothing is happening. Nothing needs to happen. The greatest comfort in this story is its absolute lack of movement or tension. The love story is entirely static, and that is its genius. It is a soft, comforting loop of peaceful imagery that lets your mind quiet down and your own inner anxieties settle like dust in a still room. The only movement, the only life force in the immediate vicinity of the cave is the slow, silent weaving of the natural world, the moss growing, the ivy clinging. Selene sees these small, organic motions, and she sees them as a gentle frame around the great stillness of her beloved. She is the witness to the mountain's slow life, all because one man decided to take the longest, most satisfying nap in history. It's a very sweet, soft joke on the epic scale of divine relationships. The moon goddess falls for the one person who cannot talk back. Let the image of that gentle, fleeting touch of light settle over you. It is cool, reassuring, and utterly non-intrusive. It is a light that asks nothing, demands nothing, and expects nothing in return. It is the perfect, quiet surrender to the moment, a complete acceptance of the distance and the nature of the bargain. You are resting under the light of a profound, patient devotion. You are safe in the knowledge that even the great forces of the cosmos sometimes pause their endless motion just to gaze upon a sleeping figure. The endless reverie continues, the silent love deepens, and the slow, soothing rhythm of the celestial cycle carries you gently through the night. Close your eyes and feel the soft, steady pull of Endymion's deep, quiet rest. You are sinking into a perfect, undisturbed, and beautiful stillness held in the silver light of an ancient, devoted gaze. The flow of time, which Selene experiences as a perpetual loop, affects the human world as a steady, irreversible river. As the moon cycles, the quiet obsession continues, but below, on the dusty earth, the mortal memories of Endymion begin to fade. This section explores the quiet consequence of his eternal stillness on the world he left behind, detailing the whispers of mortal memory and the slow process of forgetting. Imagine the perspective of a small shepherd community near Mount Latmus, 2 or 3 generations after Endymion first laid down for his endless nap. Initially, there would have been the worry, the searching, the calling of his name echoing across the valleys. But soon, the absence becomes a silence, and the silence hardens into a fact. A shepherd, they would say, simply vanished into the mountains. Over time, the story itself softens. He becomes a local legend, a quiet cautionary tale told around flickering, dim hearths, a warning about the seductiveness of deep sleep, perhaps. This slow erasure of memory is the quiet tragedy of Endymion's bargain. He is perfectly preserved, yet utterly forgotten by the quick, moving, mortal world. His name ceases to be a person and becomes a poetic whisper associated with the cave on the mountainside, a place of profound quiet and silvery illumination. You can almost hear the soft, indistinct murmuring of the villages below, the distant sound of voices that no longer speak his name. The mainstream historical fact related to this gradual forgetting is that Mount Latmus itself became a site of quiet, almost religious reverence linked to the concept of rest and sleep. People would make quiet pilgrimages to the area, not to see Endymion, but to seek the profound, calming presence of the mountain, drawn by the pervasive sense of deep tranquility that Selene's persistent, protective light seemed to confer upon the place. The energy of his eternal nap seeped into the very stone and soil, making the area a natural sanctuary for weary minds. Selene, high above, is the only one who truly remembers him as a specific individual. She alone holds the perfect, unchanging image of his youth and his quiet grace. Her light, the silent recorder of millennia, shines over the spot where the world has ceased to care. This makes her obsession not just a personal love, but a lonely act of historical preservation. She is the solitary witness to his life and his choice, the only entity who refuses to let the flow of time affect his memory. Historians still argue whether the myth of Endymion was an original Greek creation, or if it was borrowed and adapted from older Anatolian myths about a quiet moon worshipping figure. Did the myth originate as a story of eternal life, or as a poetic explanation for the way moonlight seems to linger and pool in certain shadowy places at night? The quiet debate itself suggests the soft, slow blending of cultures, a gentle mixing of local folk tales with the grand narratives of the Olympians. This sense of quiet, lingering memory affects the atmosphere you are now wrapped in. Think of the coolness of the air, the silence that is so deep it feels like pressure in your ears. This stillness is the residue of Endymion's lost life, the accumulated quiet of a man who chose perfect rest over fleeting existence. It's a very attractive proposition, isn't it? The thought of simply opting out, of letting the frantic world spin on while you rest, untroubled, in the deep, velvet dark. Selene, in her nightly descent, notices the changes in the world that Endymion can no longer perceive. She sees the shepherd paths change slightly, the small stone walls built and collapse. The ancient olive trees grow impossibly thick in their trunks. She watches the subtle, slow churn of history unfold below her, all while her beloved remains utterly immune to its corrosive effects. The knowledge that he is perfectly safe from all that temporal chaos is a profound comfort to her, justifying her quiet, singular devotion. Sometimes, as the quirky or fringe tidbit tells us, a lone traveler or a curious local might venture near the cave mouth, drawn by the almost unnatural calm of the area and the persistent, silvery glow that bathes the entrance every night. They never enter, or if they do, they never see him, perhaps shielded by a soft, luminous veil woven by Selene's protective light, an unconscious defense mechanism of her profound love. They just feel the immense peace and turn away, feeling mysteriously soothed and deeply tired, ready for their own restorative sleep. Her vigil is a continuous reminder that the greatest acts of love are often the most silent, the ones that require the deepest patience and the least expectation of return. She is the goddess of the moon, yet she spends her most focused time not engaging in grand, dramatic gestures, but in the quiet, repetitive act of observation, of safeguarding a single mortal's profound rest. The gentle sarcasm here lies in the fact that Endymion, by being perfectly unavailable, achieved the most dedicated, continuous form of attention in the history of the cosmos. If you want a goddess to obsess over you, apparently, the trick is to be beautiful, young, and completely, utterly asleep for several thousand years. It is a wonderfully low, effort way to secure eternal love, but a terrible sacrifice of all the small, sweet things that make life worth living. You are breathing deeper now, matching the slow, rhythmic inhalation and exhalation of the mountain itself. The soft, silver light of Selene is not just on the outside of your eyelids. It seems to penetrate the darkness behind them, creating a gentle, luminous field of blue and gray. You are entering that space where the line between wakefulness and deep rest blurs, where the gentle whispers of history fade into the comforting hum of your own stillness. Let the image of the cave, cool, dark, and utterly silent, become your perfect retreat. Endymion's nap is the ultimate expression of self-care, a profound rejection of the world's demands. Selene's love is the ultimate act of guardianship, a silent promise that nothing will disturb that rest. You are now sharing that promised peace. The world outside is moving and loud, but here, in the quiet narrative of the moon and the shepherd, there is only stillness and soft, luminous safety. You are drifting, forgetting the small worries of the day, allowing the slow, deep currents of sleep to pull you down into a state of perfect, enduring repose. The memory of the world fades, and the peace of the mountain takes its place. The gentle current of the story brings us now to the final, sustained image of this quiet, cosmic love affair, the unbroken moonlight vow. This is the culmination of Selene's persistent, silent adoration, a dedication that transcends the nature of their original bargain and solidifies into an eternal commitment. Her obsession has become her ultimate, gentle purpose, and Endymion's sleep, is the silent recipient of this unending, luminous vow. You are now in the deepest part of the night, where the air is cool and saturated with the soft, metallic scent of moonlight and damp earth. Feel the weight of the air around you, the immense, quiet presence of the mountain, and the cool, silvery light pouring down from above. This light is no longer just illumination. It is a tangible promise, a beautiful, quiet oath made by a goddess to a man who can never hear it. Night after night, Selene executes the same perfect, soft descent. The ritual has now achieved a state of absolute, comforting perfection. She knows the exact moment to check for any disturbance. The rare sound of a distant wild creature, the subtle shift of the wind in the pines, and she deploys her light as a protective barrier, a shield of silence around the cave. Her vigil is flawless, a continuous meditation on stillness. The mainstream historical fact that closes our narrative is the eventual, quiet acceptance of the situation by the other gods. Zeus, who often involved himself in dramatic divine romances, never interfered with this one. Endymion's perfect stillness and Selene's unwavering, quiet devotion created a zone of profound peace that was simply left alone. It was the most boring, least disruptive, and therefore most enduring myth in the cosmos. There was no need for thunderbolts or grand pronouncements. The only sound was the soft, rhythmic sigh of the shepherd's breathing. Historians still argue whether Selene, in her constant attendance, eventually achieved a form of union with Endymion that was beyond physical touch. Perhaps a psychic or spiritual blending where her consciousness was deeply intertwined with the peaceful void of his sleep. Did her light become an extension of his dreams, filling his endless, dreamless repose with a luminous, silvery calm? It's a quiet question that only enhances the profound intimacy of their silent connection. Imagine Selene's perspective now. For her, Endymion's stillness is the only reliable truth in her universe. Everything else, mortals, empires, even the stars, is in constant, noisy flux. He is her anchor, the perfect zero point, against which she measures her own endless rotation. She is eternally grateful for the bargain that rendered him permanently beautiful and perpetually peaceful, even if it meant he was permanently inaccessible. Her love is pure reverence for his rest. This reverence manifests in a beautiful, quirky or fringe tidbit that concludes the mountain story. As the millennia passed, the shepherds in the valleys below began to notice that the mountain's cave always remained perfectly cool and dry, regardless of the most furious storms. They believed that Selene's devotion extended to controlling the local weather, ensuring that no harsh elements, no driving rain, no sharp hail, no heavy snow could ever penetrate the deepest sanctuary of Endymion's repose. Her love was a meteorological shield, a constant blanket of gentle, regulated calm. Her unspoken vow is that she will continue this vigil, this silent guardianship, for as long as the moon is called to cross the night sky. She accepts the terms completely. She will watch, but never wake. She will love, but never touch. She will attend, but never demand acknowledgement. It is the ultimate expression of unselfish, devoted care, a quiet, luminous commitment that asks for nothing in return but the continued perfection of his sleep. You feel the full weight of this protective commitment now. The soft, silver light is a final reassurance that you, too, are completely safe within this moment of rest. Endymion's stillness and the centuries of Selene's gentle gaze have created a pocket of absolute peace that you are now occupying. Let the quiet rhythm of his breathing, so slow and deep, set the pace for your own. Inhale slowly, exhale completely. You are no longer just listening to a story, you are settling into the very atmosphere of its ending. The gentle obsession is satisfied by its own unwavering persistence. The nap is successful because it is unending. The love is eternal because it is unconsumed. This quiet closure is the final. Deep sigh of the mountain, the softest whisper of the wind through the high pines. The slow, rhythmic sound of the unseen celestial horses fades into a gentle, continuous hum, much like the sound of a soft fan running in a dark room. The silvery glow softens, becomes diffuse, enveloping you in a deep, cool blue. You are sinking into the perfect, peaceful vacuum of Endymion's endless dream. All is still, all is quiet, all is safe. The light is holding you, and the darkness is welcoming you. You are entering the most profound and restful sanctuary known to myth. Let the final image be the most tranquil of all. The goddess Selene, high above, casting a soft, concentrated beam of perfect, non-intrusive light onto a sleeping figure. She is utterly devoted to maintaining his peace, and that devotion now extends to yours. There is no rush. There is no urgency. There is only the long, gentle nap of Endymion and the quiet, unending love of Selene. Rest now. The story fades now, dissolving into the quiet dark. You are no longer on the cold stone of Mount Latmus, but nestled perfectly where you are, feeling the warmth of your covers and the soft, deep rhythm of your own steady breathing. Let the final images of the story drift away like smoke, leaving behind only the profound sense of peace. That quiet, unwavering light of Selene is no longer focused on a distant cave. It is now simply a soft, protective glow that surrounds you completely. You have taken the quiet essence of Endymion's eternal rest. The release from time, the freedom from worry, and made it your own. Your mind is slowing down. Your thoughts, which were once buzzing and urgent, are now distant, slow and soft, like dust motes settling gently to the floor. There is nothing left to do now. The story is told, the night is long, and the world is utterly, beautifully silent. You are safe, you are still, and you are exactly where you need to be. Let your body relax, heavy and warm, sinking further into the comfort beneath you. Every muscle is loose. Every thought is slow. The rhythm of your breath is the only sound that truly matters, slow and deep. You are held in the quiet commitment of the celestial spheres. Tonight, you are perfectly protected, perfectly still, and deeply, gently resting. There is nothing to guard, nothing to watch, and nowhere to go. Just let yourself drift into the soft, velvet dark. Sleep waits for you now, a welcoming, familiar friend.